Hey, so welcome everyone to the unveiling of the Green Loop. Um, so, first of all, I just wanted to start with like an inspiring quote, which is "We must become the change that we want to see" by Mahatma Gandhi. I feel like this is a really important quote because the future is indeed in our hands. Okay, let's just begin. So these are the objectives for today. What we're going to do is we're going to start by answering these four questions and then do a Q&A afterwards. So the four questions are: who are BU Campus Collective? What is the Green Loop social enterprise? And what have we achieved so far? And what are the future goals? And then we'll tell you about how to get involved before opening up for questions and answers. So who are we? We are the BU Campus Collective, formerly known as the Permaculture Society. We are a student society from the Student Union at Bournemouth University, and we are concerned with sustainability on campus. We manage all of the green spaces on campus. So if you look there, we have the Polytunnel, the Biodome, and Christchurch Gardens, just a few of the things that we do. We do a lot of events and workshops for everybody to take part in, to try and raise awareness. We go on quite a few trips. This is when we went to the New Forest. We also go to some other permaculture farms and things like that. And every year we brew our own cider, which we get to drink. Okay, so this leads us nicely onto the Green Loop project. What exactly is the Green Loop project? Well, it's a social enterprise set up by Greg and myself and a few other students, and funded by Student Eats. We practice the three pillars of permaculture as a main basis, which is Earth care, people care, and fair share. And we use these to create a closed loop system from seed to meal to soil, back again through compost. And this enables us to create cheap, organic, healthy meals for anyone on BU campus. These low prices are because we're a social enterprise and there'll be no profit taken from the food. Everything will just be pumped straight back into the organisation itself, making it better and stronger. So how is it done? So first of all, we start by sprouting some seeds and then potting them. And then we move them into either the polytunnel to germinate, and then when they get stronger, we'll move them out to the allotment, or some seeds stay in the biodome for things like tomatoes and stuff that need like a warmer temperature. This enables us to grow them all year round. So yeah, when things are stronger, we move them to our allotment, which we've just got, and this is us preparing a couple of beds. And Lucy's going to tell you about some environmental impacts.
So there's a lot of environmental impacts that we can reduce as a society. So food waste being a major one. Obviously, all of our food waste is composted and put back into growing more food again. And we've got a lot of reduced food waste as well, because there's not all the vegetables that are thrown away because they look wonky and that kind of stuff. Reducing emissions, we can do a lot for reducing emissions in these different categories. So obviously, we mentioned food waste, but obviously transport, because all the food is local, it's not being flown in. Agriculture, obviously we don't have the big agricultural inputs and pollution. Same for industry, we don't make stuff in massive factories with huge outputs. And potentially, if we get enough people growing their food in this way as well, we could even have an impact in reducing deforestation. We also increase biodiversity, so we've only just recently got our allotment, but already we've found a lot of animals on there. We've got a little frog, we've got beetles, we put in a pond, there's frog spawn, we found newts, lots of spiders, so that's really good. What have we achieved so far? So we've gained a lot of funding from NUS Student Eats, from plant sales, you can see us selling plants there, and also at Bournemouth Soup we won funding for that, which was brilliant. Seeds, we've spent about £400 worth on seeds, lots of different seeds, mostly beans because it's a really good staple crop, but we've got a whole massive range of things like there are salad crops, fruiting crops like tomatoes and peppers, and just masses of different things. We transformed Christchurch Garden. As you can see before, it was really barren and pretty horrible looking, to be honest, whereas now it's just like this lush area of, well, everything here is edible, so it's just fantastic. We built the polytunnel, so that was just like a barren area, and now we've got this wonderful polytunnel full of like hundreds of seeds, and we're going to be growing loads in there. Upcycling, so almost all of the stuff that we use is upcycled. So the beds we built out of pallets, all these trays we got donated from a local school, the plastic plant plugs and lots of plant pots as well we got from a local nursery, which otherwise would have thrown them away. And these planters in the middle are actually Pringle tubes, which are non-recyclable. And then events and workshops, so we run a lot of events and workshops such as plant sales, there's like the vegan fair, doing like planting tutorials and that kind of thing. And then we secured an allotment, which is a massive achievement. So yeah, that's just a really big space where we're going to be able to grow so much new food, as well as having like a social area and wildlife areas. And we got a bike and trailer, which is pretty epic. And we're going to be able to transport stuff around the uni and to and from the allotment with it.
So part of our continued approach at sustainable green solutions is that we're looking to get rainwater harvesting and irrigation. Part of that is to secure permission from the university to install these IBCs and then pump them to the polytunnel. There's potentials of hundreds of thousands of litres per year to be gained by doing it this way, and it just generally reduces costs for the university and gives us a more sustainable and resilient water supply. Was it last year, 2018, we'd had a huge drought, and this is part of what we're using our funding sources for as a uni. We're deeply concerned with soil conservation and want to look at researching and trialling out things that we've heard and read through our courses in ecology, and part of it is improving soil structure and fertility by using worms. So we're looking at using upcycled materials and natural organic materials that we can get through the campus and through students themselves to create wormeries. Here's an example of what a wormery can look like, but we do intend to use tyres, which are usually a hazardous waste, as it's classed as a hazardous waste by the government, but it's one way that we can actually breed happy little worms. Our allotment plans, again, we're deeply concerned with natural processes to give us our production. There's a Japanese gentleman called Fukuoka who really is a pioneer of permaculture principles, and in the 20s he was looking at ways of cultivating land that didn't destroy fertility, didn't cause all of the problems we currently see with industrial agriculture. And we will use some of these at the allotment, and here are a few examples. Overall, in time, the more that we put in, the more that we will get out. But over time, the less we will have to put in. So the project as it stands, we've got an allotment from the ground up, there's a lot of work, but we'll get more and more outputs from that year on year. It'll become easier and easier. Permaculture principles are a little bit different from other gardening, that if you put in natural systems in place, then it becomes a lot less work because they look after themselves. So we'll be putting them in to make it as easy as possible for students who have other concerns such as studying or work. But mulching will be our key strategy to delivering some of this easy growing. And as you can see, mulching appears to have a huge list of benefits, which I'll list a few, such as stops the soil from drying out and keeps moisture, so you need to irrigate less. It prevents weeds from growing, so you need to weed less. It balances the temperature into the soil, so plant roots grow better. It prevents the spread of pests and diseases. Feeds soil organisms, which in turn feed plants for us without having to buy expensive fertilisers. You don't need to dig, you don't need to plough. So generally there's a huge amount of added benefits. In an earlier slide we saw us putting on horse manure and straw, which we got from a local horse field. This is part of our Green Loop strategy, that we use local organic materials to promote the project. Here is a picture of kind of industrial cultivated soils where they're ploughed and bare. The bright sun will irradiate and dry the soil out. Dry soil won't let moisture percolate into it. If there's less moisture, there's less root growth. If there's less root growth, there's less soil organisms. and it's a spiral of destruction, as you can see here. The green loop is kind of the natural loop, and it's putting reinforcing positive improvements to the soil that help us get stronger roots, more soil moisture, and better soil conservation, which in turn give us healthier plants. Those healthier plants are what we want to eat as students in this stressful time of your studies. Permaculture is all about biodiversity and polycultures and looking at natural systems such as the forest and species that work in companion with each other. And we'll be trialling this as well. As part of a research project that was sort of started off by myself a few years ago, as part of my dissertation, going on from that, we were looking at making biofertilizers. Biofertilizers are used commonly in South America as a cheap alternative to industrial agriculture, but that has none of the disadvantages of industrial agriculture. Unfortunately, industrial agriculture want you to buy into their system because it makes them money if you continually buy into the system. There are huge disadvantages to industrial agriculture, such as the destruction of soil that ties you into needing to buy fertilizers. Biofertilizers are completely organic and can be brewed from 30 to 60 days and have none of the disadvantages of industrial agriculture. So this diagram here indicates that with biofertilizers there is an increase in every single soil organism that contributes to good soil health. So by feeding the soil microorganisms with biofertilizers, they kickstart soil web ecology, which then feeds the plants for you. Again, you don't need to buy any chemical fertilizer from industrial agriculture, you don't need to plough, you don't need pesticides if you do it this way. And this is one of our biggest research projects we want to do as a society. This shows you just kind of how simple it can be. So you just need a carbohydrate source. This is semolina, but we can use wheat husk, bran husk, agricultural waste, which is very cheap. Molasses, which is a sugary waste product from sugar production, but we have made a connection to a brewery in Christchurch that has a similar product that we can use, closing a loop for them because it's currently a waste product, but then making a biofertilizer for us. Just ferment them in a barrel 30 days with forest microbes that we're going to collect from the New Forest trips that we do, and that's literally it. Another thing we want to do is cultivate mushrooms, and this is a simple diagram of, again, how simple it can be to cultivate mushrooms on the allotment using organic burlap sacks to fruit. The beans will be one of our staple crops as they improve soil structure. They're very easy to grow, and they grow at the time of year that students are around. So just brought beans. These ones are growing for the summer, and these will be around for masters and PhD students as well. Can we pop up? Thank you.
So one of the main functions of growing all this food is to then use it to run a pop-up cafe, which we'll hopefully be running like at least once a month or twice a month. And some of the meals that we were thinking about doing would be like a nice chili or Tex-Mex just made from all the different mixed beans and some other ingredients. Mixed bean salad, which we could make with everything that we've grown in the allotment pretty simply. Jacket potatoes with different toppings. Falafel wraps, bean burgers, and mushroom salads, and mushroom and risotto pasta, but the pasta there is made out of courgettes, so it's very easy to like not have to source other things. We can make all these meals very cheaply with stuff that we've grown. Another idea that we had was to use some of the products to do like a zero waste shop on campus, like a little stand where we can give people stuff to make these meals and some instructions, or we can sell things like herbs in upcycled planters, like these ones here. These are just made from some cans. It's so simple, and then people can grow theirs, encouraging people to grow their own food. Another opportunity is for scientific research projects to take place on the allotment, which would be absolutely amazing. That's what we want to try and encourage people to do. We want to create like sort of like a living lab there, So it can really help further knowledge into growing food in different ways. So how to get involved? One of the easiest ways to get involved, as most of you know, is to join the society, BU Campus Collective. Another easy way is just to take a role in the social enterprise. So there will be loads of roles coming up, so we'll need people to do different positions inside the different parts of the social enterprise. Come along to the volunteer days on Saturday, so like tomorrow morning we'll be having another day down the allotment. Or design a scientific research project that you want to undertake at the allotment, or help out on one that someone else has. There will be work available in the pop-up shop and cafe, and attend some workshops that we do, and get growing at home. And that is it. Thanks for doing that.